Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to our podcast today. These podcasts are brought to you in part by our sponsors, who really truly are what make these podcasts possible every week. O'Fallon Nutrition is a company that I've worked with for over 15 years. They're independently owned and operated, located here in O'Fallon, Missouri, right off of Highway K and Mexico Road. I call this place the Whole Foods of St. Charles County, but even if you are not located on this side of the river, it is still worth the drive. I can remember working all the way down at Powerhouse and still sending people out to O'Fallon Nutrition for their supplements. They are more than a supplement company. You can get grass-fed beef, salad dressing, seasoning for your cooking, hair care products, makeup, deodorant, toothpaste, essential oils, and all the vitamins and minerals that you can think of. If you're looking for clean, whole food nutrition, as well as home care, house care, skincare products, O'Fallon Nutrition is your place. You can take a look at them at o'fallonnutrition.com, or if you'd like to have something shipped, if you're listening to me from outside of St. Louis, you can certainly have items shipped. I know they do free shipping if it's an order over $50, and the phone number is 636-240-5283. Again, it's o'fallonnutrition.com. As well as if preparing your food on a weekly basis is your primary excuse for why you're not able to stay on a good, clean eating program, which is something that I hear very regularly from my clients, I would ask you to please take the time to check out Pure Plates. It's pureplatesstl.com. They are a phenomenal place. We get our food from there during the week. They deliver to our Integrity location. They will deliver to your house. They also are just available for pickup. You can go to their Chesterfield location or their Kirkwood location and just pick up meals for the day, as well as just having them delivered right to your door. So if preparing your food is your main excuse for why you cannot stay on a healthy eating program, then I would suggest just stop by Pure Plates. Just try it. If you're trying to lower your blood pressure, you're trying to lower your cholesterol, you're trying to get your blood sugar down, try to do Pure Plates meals for a week and just see how different you feel. These are organic meals. They are gluten-free. If you need them to be, they can be dairy-free. They are soy-free. You're not taking any processed sugars or meat-curing agents or preservatives. They really, truly believe in nutrient-dense meals that are just whole food nutrition. And I've had my clients, or I've made recommendations for my clients for years at Pure Plates. It's pureplatesstl.com, or you can call them to ask questions at 636-778-3555. Again, remembering that they have a location in Chesterfield as well as in Kirkwood that you can just run by and pick up a meal today. Everyone always asks me where I get my meat from, and given that I really eat meat on a daily basis, typically beef primarily, my meat is very important to me. I have an autoimmune condition and I want grain-free, corn-free meat, and I just haven't found the confidence in stores in knowing that I'm getting 100% grass-fed, grass-finished beef. And I have searched and searched and searched for the right farm, and I have found the farm. It's fedfromthefarm.com, fed, F-E-D, from thefarm.com. These farmers are amazing. It's a family. They're here in Missouri, and they have the desire, just like I do, to see people well and to see people healthy, and they put a lot into what they do. It's such a wonderful family to support. They do offer 100% grass-finished, grass-fed, meaning that's it. A beef, and I get my ribeyes, I get my ground beef, my ground sirloin, I get my chuck roast. I mean, they basically have everything. They even have awesome jerky, but they also have eggs, they have chickens, and they have turkey. I'm planning on getting a turkey for Thanksgiving, and if you'd like lamb, they have that as well. But if you are in need of good quality grass-fed, grass-finished beef, or quality eggs, chicken, turkey, don't just settle for what you're getting at the local store. to go out on the internet and check out Fed from the Farm. That you can arrange a pickup or you can have it delivered to your home. And I can guarantee you're going to taste the difference. For me, my health actually depends on it. So I really thank God to have found such a great farmer. Fedfromthefarm.com. I hope it blesses you.
Welcome to Faith, Fuel, and Fitness, the Integrity Way, with your hosts, John and Debbie Morris from Integrity Training Systems.
Hey everybody, this is John Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. You know that I say John Morris, and you know there's supposed to be a Debbie. She is not here with me. She may show up a little bit later in the show. She's just running a little bit behind today, so you have to deal with my inner monologue, which is here's a caution hot coffee label. If you know me, as that's scary. So listen with your own risk here. We like to talk about what it means to be a warrior. We actually call ourselves the Warrior Show because we really just think it's important for you guys to know that you can overcome. There's not enough of it in the world. I find there's a lot of motivation. There's this like concept of going online, and there's all these people that call themselves like influencers and motivators. And I always hate that terminology. And I'm sorry if you're an influencer and you're listening to this, because I'm like, what does an influencer mean? Like, what is your actual job? Like, to me, an influencer is someone that does something well and that causes an influence on other people. If you say that you're an influencer, it's like, but what are you influencing? So there's a lot of that, and I find it's very motivational, but the problem is motivation is a lot of times fleeting. So what I hope to build in you, what I hope to give you today is an idea that you are able to overcome, but it requires discipline and implementation and focus to get you through certain things versus just like praying for that moment of excitable explosion to push through. So the definition of a warrior is a brave or experienced soldier or fighter. And I always like to give that because it basically says that you don't have to be brave and you don't have to be an armed forces soldier. You can actually just be experienced and a fighter. And everybody who's ever been through anything, whether it's a health issue, a struggle, a bad relationship, low on finances, whatever it may be, that's going to make you a fighter. And so if you're experienced and you're a fighter, you get to call yourself a warrior. And what does it mean to get to be a warrior? Well, it means that you actually have the tools required to overcome. And whatever you're dealing with right now, I just want you to take a second and think, like, if you're looking at this mountain and you're thinking, this is the hardest thing that I have ever had to deal with, recognize that you've said that before. And if you hadn't, you've at least thought it. And so you've overcome those trials and tribulations before. And sometimes it's interesting to just take a moment and acknowledge, like, in that moment that I dealt with that, was that actually harder than the moment of what I'm dealing with right now? You may find that you've actually overcome something when you look back that is more difficult than what you're dealing with. But if it's not, and you're truly facing down the biggest giant that you've ever dealt with, just remember at one point you thought the same thing of something in the past and you beat it, and now it looks trivial. So I just challenge you to look into the face of what you're dealing with and take it on. In the Bible, what I love is when David fights Goliath, it says that David ran at the Philistines. Like, he ran at Goliath. So it's not like he squared up with him and kind of timidly was like, I guess I better deal with this. He actually ran at something that everybody else was afraid of. And by all rights, he was considered inadequate. And so was his weapon. His weapon of choice was considered inadequate. Like, this is the greatest underdog story. It's like, it's even better than Rocky. This is like the greatest underdog story that's ever existed. And he overcomes it, And so it's like, instead of looking at what you don't have, look at the resources that you do. Like, what qualifies you to take something on? What have you been through before that allows you to take something on? And I actually just started a men's group. We've met 3 times now, and we work out, and then we spend an hour talking about the Bible and just kind of exactly what we're talking about right now. Our next one is August 30th, and it's going to be a fun one because the hour before the Bible study, I'm actually teaching striking. We're going to be doing some stand-up punches and, blocking and fun stuff like that. And my intention is to just create some physically, mentally, and spiritually tough men to be able to lead and do what they're, called to do, what God's got on their life, their call and purpose. And I don't feel qualified for it. And it's kind of fascinating because I was in prayer thinking about that, and I had a really, really hard time before our last meeting. Like the night before, I told Debbie, I'm just going to be candid with you. I told Deb I was done. I was like, I cannot do this. I've bit off more than I can chew. I'm not prepared for this. I'm not able to take this on. Like, this is insane. I'm going to lead these guys. Like, I am not qualified to take this on. And that's a lie from the enemy, because it is what I'm called to do. But it's like she said, she was like, Ed Milet told us at one point in the Arate, which we're a part of, and it's an entrepreneurial group where he talks. And if you don't know who Ed Milet is, go look him up and buy his book, The Power of One More. He's amazing. And he said that the things that you feel disqualify you most from doing what you're doing are probably actually your greatest qualifiers. I'm going to say that again. The things that you think disqualify you the most from doing what you need to be doing are probably your greatest qualifiers. All of the dumb stuff that I have done, all of the things I've been through, the pains, the injuries, the hard times, the addictions, the traumatic brain injuries, it actually qualifies me to talk to these guys. Like, I'm able to empathize with them because I've been there. And empathy is so much more important than sympathy when you're actually trying to help someone overcome something. And, the Bible says what the devil means for harm, God can turn around and use for good. Well, that's what's happening. So if you find yourself in a position where you're trying to overcome something, just recognize, like, you might actually one day be able to help someone to overcome a similar situation. Another thing to consider is that a lot of times, if you're able to help someone else in your hard time, it actually assists you to get through your own. And then seek out someone who's been through what you've been through. We live in a world where there are so many people that are out there that are, it's literally on the internet, things they've been through. Like, don't be afraid to go looking for help, resources. Fire up AI and ask it some questions. And I don't know what your opinion on AI is, but if you don't like it, then Google it. Just look up, like, how do I overcome this? Get some ideas. And I guess what I'm challenging you to do is just not give up. Like, whatever you're dealing with, just don't give up. Just get up, look it in the face, and give it your best shot every day. If you don't like where you are and you feel like you're running the hamster wheel, whether that's in your business, your marriage, your friendships, or whatever it may be, ask yourself, like, if you look at a hamster wheel, they run in a circle because they decide not to step off the side of it. It's literally open. So if you're running that circle, like, do you need to step off? Like, is there something else out there? Should you be looking for another job? Should you be looking for tools and ways to be a better spouse so that your spouse can appreciate what it is you do for them and step their game up? Are you perhaps being irrational in what you're looking for out of your employer? Irrational in what you're looking for out of life with what you're putting out at this time? I find a lot of people struggle because they end up in a really tough spot, and that tough spot will actually tax you and drain you to where you stop being capable of putting out what you need to put out to receive the caliber of life you're looking for. And I know that's some pretty heavy stuff, but keep your eye out for that. Keep your eye out for the things that will assist you in going to where you want to be. And everybody's issues are different. So don't compare yourself to other people. I opened this segment talking about the comparison you should make, and that's against your past. Have you fought something harder than you're fighting now? Or have you fought something that at the time seemed harder and you've pushed through it? Don't compare yourself to the guy next to you, the girl next to you. And for sure, don't compare yourself to the people online. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all these things, these people are showing you 0.001% of the glamour that is in their life. It is a snapshot. It is no different than someone going in the gym, getting a pump, greasing themselves up with baby oil, standing under the perfect light, turning their abs to the side, flexing to where they're not able to breathe anymore, and snapping a picture for you that they possibly even edit and making you think that you can achieve that body. It's no different. You see the perfect trips. You see the perfect smiles. You see the perfect, everything, the perfect. And if you're comparing yourself to that, yeah, life is really going to be hard because you're going to be shooting for something that doesn't exist. And I say this all the time. Instead of chasing perfection, chase persistence. Because if you chase persistence, you'll actually come closer to perfection than trying to be perfect will ever take you. Because that persistence allows you to move forward. And everybody I've ever met that tries to be perfect, other than Jesus, falls short. And when you fall short, you give up because you think you should have been perfect. So stay persistent. Persist towards the goal. What are you looking to accomplish in life? What have you been called to accomplish in life? And are you setting yourself up for failure by just not believing in yourself? For more information on what we do at Integrity Training Systems, take a look at us at integritytrainingsystems.com, or for a free fitness assessment, you can give us a call at 636-299-2208 for nutrient-dense, high-protein, gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered from our personal bakery to your doorstep. Take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-finished meat, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com. Welcome back, everybody. This is John with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. We just got done talking about what it means to be a warrior, and I want to go a little bit more into thinking that you're not able to do something here. I recently had a friend come into my gym, and it was kind of interesting because he doesn't come in at the time of day that he did. It was at the end of the day, and I could tell he was kind of just like fighting some demons, fighting through his mind, just trying to get a workout in, kind of pacing a little bit more between equipment. This dude's in phenomenal shape. He's been working out for every bit of probably 40 to 45 years, so he doesn't need to be pacing in between things, figuring out what to do. And so he went to walk out, and there was someone else walking out in front of him. And as he goes to walk out, he actually stops at the door as the person in front of him walks out. So I could tell he had something on his mind he wanted to talk about. And so he stops and he starts talking to me, and he says, man, I've been dealing with some pretty crazy anxiety. Like, I've been anxious. Now, this is a guy, he's in great shape. He's got a great relationship with his wife. He had a fantastic business that he sold. He's out of now. Life is really good for this guy right now. Like, it's positive. He's a strong Christian. He's in a really good place. And so I said, okay, well, like, do you have any additional stressors in your life? And he's like, no, and I was like, have you made any major changes with your food or your drinking or anything like that? And he was like, well, I haven't drank. I haven't drank in years. I think he quit drinking before I quit drinking, like 12 years ago. And he was like, I did have a couple of drinks here recently, but it wasn't anything. I actually, had a conversation with my wife about that, and I pulled out of that, and, it's been out of my system for a couple of weeks now. He's like, I don't know. It's just something. So like, we go through all the variables is what I'm trying to tell you. And basically what we come down to is I ask him to write it on paper. Like, okay, if you wrote on paper, like, let's write this out. Like, what do you have to be anxious about? And so he says, I don't think anything. And so if you find yourself in that position, what I challenge you to think about is, I had a pastor tell me once that nothing happens in the physical world that hasn't already occurred in the spiritual world. And so if you're looking at a realm and you've wrote it down, because there's going to be times, like, listen, guys, there's going to be times you're going to write down your list and you're like, good Lord, I have the right to be anxious. Like, that's a lot of stuff, And so if you're looking at it, though, and you're like, man, this doesn't make sense. I've taken this on before. Like, this load isn't even as great as what I've dealt with in the past. You might need to dig a little bit deeper. Okay. You might need to look at your chemistry. You might need to say, like, okay, is my brain off? And then if your brain's not off, you might need to go a little bit deeper than that. I want to talk to you a little bit. I'm going to get into some Bible verses here. I just want to talk to you a little bit about what the Bible actually says about anxiety and depression. It's pretty fascinating. And I was talking kind of specifically about men in this incident, but it's totally applicable to women as well. And it says in Philippians, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And so what's fascinating about that is we do pray, okay? We do pray and we do ask for assistance, but are we actually getting into the depth, or are we saying like, Lord, just help me to not be anxious? Are you looking deeper? I challenge you to like ask like, Lord, why would I be anxious? Can you reveal to me what I need to do? What do I need to take on to be able to deal with what's causing this in me? And what I want you to think about here is anxiety is actually the opposite of trust. A lot of people don't realize that. If you trust in something, you're not going to be anxious about it. So what the enemy will try to do here is the enemy will try to undermine your trust in God, and he'll also try to undermine your trust in the process, and he'll also try to undermine your trust in yourself. And so in 1 Peter 5:7-8, it says, casting all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. Be sober-minded, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion. And this was the point I made to my friend. Be sober-minded, okay? I'm dealing with another guy right now. Not dealing with, oh gosh, I'm helping another guy right now. I find myself mentoring. Debbie's here, by the way, if you just heard a little giggle. So I find myself, and I'm mentoring to this guy. I'm also not mentoring to this guy. Like Debbie just walked in. She's so pretty. I'm tripping over my words here.
Mentoring.
I'm mentoring.
Okay, good.
So I'm mentoring to this gentleman
Yeah.
about some stuff he's going through. And he's a relatively healthy guy. And he started talking about how he's not being healthy. He's struggling. He had a job. He hated it, made decent money at it. He's very high credentialed. Has a bachelor's degree in what he does. And he decides he's left his, he's in his early 20s, mid 20s. He's left his parents. He's living in a different state. And he decides, you know what? I'm just going to leave this job and I'm going to find another one. You know, so he doesn't secure a job before he leaves. He just thinks no big deal. He does it right. He gives us 2 weeks notice, you know. He starts looking for another job. Well, that was 10 weeks ago. Yeah. He hasn't found a job. He's struggling. He's filled out massive amounts of applications and just nothing back, no callbacks, or he'll get a first or second interview and it doesn't work out. And I told him, I'm like, some of these jobs you might be overqualified for, man. They may not want to pay you what you're worth, you know? And so the reason I'm mentioning him is sober-minded. He's a relatively healthy guy. He started eating garbage because A, he's doing it to kind of like give himself some, you know, like comfort. He's comfort fooding, but B, he's also trying to save money. So he's stepping his game down on what he's consuming. Well, you're not going to be able to be sober-minded. If you're eating garbage, guys, like I'm talking fast food all the time, drinking soda, all these things, and you're talking about wanting to like overcome, you're kind of setting yourself up with a little bit of a disadvantage.
You know, fast.
You're going into the race. And I told him that, and he's like, you know what? You're right. I know that. He's like, I know that, you know, he's like, but I guess I'm just, you know, I'm eating my feelings. I'm like, everybody does that. Like that's so common, especially in the United States now. And then to my friend's point, he had a couple drinks because he, did it just at a couple dinners, but then he had a couple drinks because of what I'm talking about. And so he was, thank God, able to catch that, and he backed out of that. But what's the depth? Okay. You have to notice that connection of anxiety and how it's attached to the enemy, because if you don't deal with anxiety, you're actually vulnerable to attack. Mm-hmm. And so if you're not dealing with your anxiety, what are you being prevented from doing? Because anxiety paralyzes purpose. You know, fear not, for I am with you. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you. Isaiah 41:10. Okay. If you can be made anxious, you're actually delaying the possibilities of what you can do with your life.
Totally.
And so I'm not just talking about God's call and purpose. I'm talking about everything. How are you as a parent? How are you as a spouse? How are you at work? How are you in just waking up for your day? How are you in enjoying the moments of your life? You know, if you're putting yourself in a position where you're living in a state of anxiety, whether that's brought on to you by what you're consuming, whether that's brought on to you by, you know, just not stopping for a moment to think that you're actually okay. And sometimes it is a chemical imbalance, guys. Like sometimes there is something that needs to be corrected, but you also need to get help with that. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit more about anxiety, and we're also going to get a little bit into depression because I just want to let you guys know you're not alone and there's overcoming coming in this next segment. And so for more information on what we do at Integrity Training Systems, take a look at us at integritytrainingsystems.com. And for a free fitness assessment, give us a call at 636-299-2208 for nutrient-dense, protein-dense baked goods delivered from our personal bakery to your doorstep. Take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed, grass-finished beef, the only meat the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com. Welcome back, everybody. This is John, and now with Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. We just got done talking about anxiety. I want to talk a little bit more about that because I feel like our entire world has this issue with anxiety now to where basically everyone's running around and saying they have anxiety or an anxiety issue. And I just feel like we live in a world that makes people anxious. And there's a difference between being anxious and claiming you have anxiety. And you have to be careful because there's power in the tongue. And our pastor talked about that this weekend. So if you're walking around claiming anxiety, you're kind of setting yourself up for a really negative situation of potentially dealing with anxiety on a regular basis. But if you say, I have something that's making me anxious, it's going to be something that becomes a little bit easier to deal with. And what I was talking about is some of the things the Bible says about anxiety and the use of it, how the enemy will use it as a way to kind of prevent you from doing what you've been called to do, the paralyzation that comes with feeling anxious. And one thing I want you to think about is, what are you doing on a daily basis that gives you enough time to think about how anxious you are? Now, you might be at work. You might be doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Not much. I don't ever have time to think about it.
Okay, so this is the point. Grant Cardone says this. He was doing an interview, and he talks about it, and he said, free time is the breeding ground of anxiety and depression.
Yes.
And so what he says is, the point that he makes is free time's great. He's like, downtime is great. And staying busy and then taking that time off is great. One of my good friends, he is an extremely successful, busy guy, and he says, you know, he loves being lazy. He's like, I love my downtime. I like being able to lay in my pajamas on a day and just do nothing, you know. And what we talked about, though, is there's a difference between downtime and just being down, because downtime means that you have uptime. Downtime insinuates that there's times in your week where you are up, where you're busy, where you're doing stuff. If you just work minimal hours a week, or you don't work, or you know, you just sit around a lot and you don't do any form of activity, that's not downtime. That's just living down regulated. And what happens is, I find people start recognizing that they don't feel like they have purpose. They start recognizing that they're not accomplishing anything. They start to kind of like feel bad about themselves. They start to compare themselves to other people, perhaps even significant others or siblings or people that are having more success, or at least from their eyes having more success, because they're sitting around and thinking about it. So what I'm questioning here is, like, if you find yourself doing that, like, could you be doing something else? Like, could you be accomplishing something that is going to assist you and getting out of that funk or getting out of that mindset? I was talking about a gentleman that I'm trying to mentor in this last segment, and he's trying to get a job. I mean, he's filling out relentless amounts of applications. But then I told him, like, okay, but like, amongst doing that, what else could you do? Like, could you go help somebody? Like, take your degree. Like, could you find a non-for-profit that you could assist with? Is there somewhere local that you could donate a little bit of your time outside of the application process? Because
your walk have purpose, and then you're
I mean, helping other people is extremely powerful, you know, and it's going to pull you out of this state where you start going and looking for things that aren't going to help you. They do cloud you. They actually ensure that you're going to have a hard time overcoming it, you know. And so anxiety is just one thing that people deal with, and, you know, depression is the other side of that. And what's fascinating is, like I said, people walk around and claim they have anxiety, claim they have depression, but you can also just be anxious and you can also just be down. And so the first thing that I was taught to do when I first started working with a therapist years ago was write it out. Like, what do you have to be anxious about? What do you have to be down about? What do you have to be depressed about, if you want to use that verbiage? And like, go through it. Like, are you actually anxious about any of the individual things? Are you down about any of the individual things? You're like, no, I can take all that on. Okay, well, are you down or anxious about the totality? Is it that you have a cap mentally, emotionally, or spiritually that you can take on, and that those individual things do culminate to create something exponentially where you can't take that on, where you feel like you can't take that on? And if you look at that and you're like, no, like, okay, so then what's the problem? Are you chemically imbalancing yourself to where it's just neurologically impossible to take on because you're so stimulated or downregulated that you just feel like it's too much? Or maybe it is spiritual attack. I mean, maybe you're dealing with something that goes to a root of a prevention of your call and purpose, like we talked about in the last segment. And it's like any of those things, though, require taking them on. I mean, whether it's spiritual warfare, whether it's chemical warfare, whether it's that you actually need chemical assistance, maybe you need medical assistance, or maybe you just need to work through it. And there's people that can help you with that, but I just find that so many people think that they're alone in that, and people just don't go look for the help.
I think that there's multiple things to think about when it comes to anxiety, and I think writing it down, as you suggested, is very important, because as you look at it on paper, you can start to put some dotted lines and link it back to some things. So if you press the snooze button, if you start your day by pressing the snooze button 2 and 3 times, you are going to be rushing around your house, and you are going to be anxious the entire drive to work because you're going to be late for work. If the first thing you do in the morning is look at your phone and you spend a half hour answering text messages constantly and putting yourself back over and over and over again, or if the people that message you have bad energy, if they talk about how bad their day is, if they talk about how tired they are, if they talk about how much pain they're in, if they talk about how sick they are, if they talk about how much they don't want to be at work, they talk about how much they hate their coworkers, you have literally just started your day by ingesting all of their anxiety. And so you, A, have made yourself late and you're putting yourself behind, which is going to make you anxious. But B, you have immediately changed your energy, which quite literally could have been super positive.
Yep.
And like you could have been ready to take on the day.
Yep.
Maybe you had something that just started to look up in your life, but then you woke up and you just took on someone else's energy. It's so easy to do because sometimes people need to be able to vent to other people, and so they will message you things. So that's 2 things. That's just starting your day. You could have potentially not even left your bedroom yet, and you're already causing anxiety. Then we go downstairs, and what do? I say downstairs to everybody, or upstairs to everybody, assuming everyone has a 2-story like us, but you go start to make your coffee.
Yes.
What do we put in the coffee? Do we put sugar in the coffee? Is it a highly caffeinated coffee? Or are we having a double shot of espresso? Is it a weird syrup? Right? Did you drop your coffee? Because then you want to punch the cabinet, right?
I mean, hypothetically.
Are you having a donut with the coffee? Or are you having a bagel with the coffee? Now what we've done is we've changed your adrenaline.
Yep.
So now we've actually gone internal with it, and we're changing your physiological state. Okay, we're not even in the same state that we were when you first woke up. And so we've made you late. You're panicking because you're late. You've taken on someone else's bad energy. You're already feeling anxious because of something that has absolutely nothing to do with you. And you're going to add gasoline to that by putting sugar and by putting caffeine and by putting carbs, high processed, really bad carbs. And then guess what? On the way to work, as you're super late and super anxious, you're going to listen to something on the radio that's probably going to be really bad news too. There's a way of like tumbleweeding the anxiety, and there's also a way of basically building a shield wall to that anxiety as well. Now, these are just simple examples. If you have concussion disorder, if you have brain damage, if you have crazy neurotransmitter imbalances.
What if you have all 3?
Then you might be waking up with anxiety. But
right.
Guess what's going to happen? You're going to get worse with the snooze button.
Yep.
You're going to get worse with the bad energy person. Yep. You're going to get worse with taking the time text messaging people.
Yep.
You're definitely going to get worse on the caffeine. You're going to get worse on sugar, and you're going to get worse on carbs. So what do?
But neurologically,
we build a plan.
Your brain is telling you that it will help you because it's attempting. Your brain is trying to medicate itself, and I hate to tell you this, but your brain isn't very smart on that. You can be a highly intellectual person, but your brain doesn't know why it's in chemical disarray. And so when you tell yourself emotionally, like, okay, but I got to have my coffee. Okay, but I have to have this. First off, if you're someone that deals with anxiety or being low, the worst time to take anything on is first thing in the morning. I don't know anybody that wakes up first thing in the morning and just like comes out of bed ready to fight, right? I mean, like just ready to take that on if you're someone that deals with that. So you start bringing in all of the elements that Debbie just mentioned. Now you're already at a complete disadvantage to take your day on. Whereas if you get woke up a little bit first, you spend 30 minutes just waking up and breathing, maybe getting in your Bible, something positive, and don't go looking somewhere where it could go 50-50. It could be negative or positive because the second something negative hits, that's over. And energy is contagious, but the power of the tongue is too. So if you're reading things that people have sent you that are negative, you're going to take that on. So you have to set yourself up for, I'm going to come into my day able to actually think through and take that on.
So you get to the coffee pot, you're adrenalizing yourself,
yes.
You're having your carbs, you go over to the sink and it's full of dishes because you didn't take care of it the night before. You go to throw your trash away and it's overflowing because you didn't take care of it the night before.
Yep.
You go to get in your car and you don't have any gas because you didn't take care of it the night before.
Yeah.
You can barely make it to the gas station and now you're not only late because you were late before. I mean, are you ready to have a panic attack now just from having this conversation?
Procrastination, we talked about, Cardone says that downtime is a breeding ground of anxiety, but procrastination is the amplification of anxiety. And what's odd is what I find is most people that deal with anxiety are procrastinators. And so it's like you have to fix the problem, right? You have to fix the root, not the problem. It's like throwing a Band-Aid on it is trying to correct your anxiety first. When it comes to procrastination, you alter your procrastination. Like I used to get up with 14 minutes to get to work and it's an 8-minute drive. I mean, I would literally get dressed, make a coffee and be in my car in 6 minutes. Do you have any idea waking up how turmoil filled that was, right? And so now I try to get up an hour before I need to be at the gym because it's less anxious. It's less anxiety.
And do you think that it's procrastination always, or do you think it's a pattern of discipline?
No, that's absolutely right.
It's so the person can be lacking in
the procrastination
protocol,
creates
in a plan,
lack of discipline.
A lot of times with nutrition, I spend more of my time creating these patterns with people than I do a meal plan.
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole point of our show.
It's like truly just balancing your life.
When we started out, we talked more about physiology and the science of nutrition, but we've just felt led in our spirits to alter, to build you guys and equip you guys with the ability to overcome, achieve, as well as build disciplinary tactics, because that's what ultimately sets you up for success. Because without that, any meal or exercise plan that you do, once you hit your first little milestone or you have your first failure, you quit. Because you haven't been equipped on how to deal with that.
And I think we can talk more about how can you turn that plan around? How can you keep that from being your day every day?
Right.
For more information on what we do at Integrity Training Systems, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call for a free personal fitness assessment at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to your door from my personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. Been talking to you a lot about anxiety. We're going to talk a little bit more about the flip side of that with depression. And, and just the difference between being anxious and anxiety and being down or depressed and having depression. But as Deb started to talk about at the end of the last segment, which is so key, having disciplinary patterns implemented in your life, things that you can do to start to regulate these things that create a sense of having anxiety or being anxious is so huge. It's like you're deflecting before you're putting a shield up before you even have to deflect. If you're attempting to do something before or you're attempting to do something while it's actually occurring, you're trying to put your shield up while you're getting punched in the face. That isn't really the right time to be doing that. We actually had our preacher talked about this weekend where he said that he had an incident that he was dealing with, and the leader of the youth group was attempting to read a handbook on what they were dealing with while they were dealing with it. And he's like, maybe you should have started with that before we were here, and it's like, so you have to have this preparation order. And Deb was talking about that's what she does a lot. She spends a lot of time helping people to establish that.
Well, I'm going to give an example of Sophie.
Yeah.
We got a phone call that she missed school a couple of years ago.
Yes.
She had to leave halfway through her day.
Yes.
Because she was having an anxiety attack.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, did she leave before the test or did she leave after the test? And they said, well, she left before the test.
Yep.
And so I spoke to Sophie. She did not prepare for the test. She did not study for the test one time over the weekend. She went to a sleepover, stayed at a person's house for 2 days. She went fishing. She went to an amusement park on Sunday. She didn't look at the book one time, not one time. And then on Monday morning, guess what happened? Anxiety. And so we were told that, anxiety runs in the family. And so she's just having an anxiety day. And I said, no, she's not having an anxiety day. She's having I went and had fun all weekend, and I didn't prepare for my test day.
Well, and it was
a real anxiety.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was absolutely real.
She was panicking.
And it was referred to as a quote unquote mental health day. And I'm like, well, we all have mental. Yeah. That's not going to be what it is. And the other thing is that was before she was flawless on her food.
Right.
So what did she consume going into that as well? And then the thing that she was compounding that test with was she was also supposed to be having some friends come over because they were supposed to be working on a project, but it was going to be fun. It was actually a fun thing, but she was afraid that via the difficulty of the test and something else that she had to get done, and then doing that she wasn't going to be able to get it all done. And so she went home, and then all of the extra things that she had to do, she got it done in less than 30 minutes.
It's just a matter of what does that child need to be medicated at that point? Because she felt real anxiety.
That was
I think
real.
what she needs is a coping mechanism for the anxiety. But I think what she also needs is a plan to be organized, a plan to get her homework done, a schedule, and not like a lackadaisical approach to homework and to responsibilities. Now, as adults, what's the plan? Set the alarm 30 minutes earlier. Get yourself out of bed. If someone has to literally drag you out, if you have to set something out that pulls you out with the rope, don't look at your phone for the first 30 minutes. Have Alexa play a sermon. Have Alexa play worship music. Don't look at your phone. If someone is going to produce bad energy, do not mute their messages until later in your day when you're capable of handling it. Go down to half calf with your drinks. Do your dishes and take out your trash the night before so that you're always coming home to a clean, organized space. Make your bed every morning so that you come home at night to a calm, peaceful, clean, organized space. Take care of your car. When you need gas, get it. Don't put it off or you are not going to feel okay. If you're managing some of these things, then when the anxiety does come because you can't pay a bill, because a family member is sick, because a relationship is in distress, now we create proper coping mechanisms. Part of those coping mechanisms are eating a clean, well-balanced diet because it gives you a well-balanced brain. If you are eating sugar, if you are eating gluten, if you are eating dairy, if you are eating fried foods, if you're eating seed oils, you are going to be out of balance. Your brain, your neurotransmitters are going to be out of balance. And so the problem is you're never really going to see things for what they really are because your brain will have been hijacked by all these foods, and you're just not going to be able to commit to a calm, level-headed view on things until you detox all those bad ingredients. I know that sucks. I know that's not what anybody wants to hear. Now, here's the bad part. Here's where depression comes in. Depression comes in from the failure and the shame. I don't know why I can't get this on track. I don't know why I can't get organized. I don't know why I can't wake up on time. I don't know why I'm always in this state. I'm taking on other people's energy. They're all down. So now I'm down, even though I actually have a really good life. God has truly blessed me. I really have a lot going for me. And now I've taken in so much of this bad food that if I don't have it regularly to spike me, I'm in a down slump. If I don't have the adrenaline racing through me from the caffeine, from the energy drink, from the supplements, I'm not okay. I'm going to be down. I'm going to be depressed. It's a real thing. Your neurotransmitter levels get that out of balance from your food, from your drink, from trauma, from all the things. And it isn't just a matter of I need to go to the doctor and get put on a medication. The first thing to do when you're feeling this way, the very first thing is change your food. The second thing is hydrate. The third thing is take your vitamins. The fourth thing is get a great night's sleep. The fifth thing is exercise and move. The sixth thing is have, it should be really the first thing, have a spiritual practice. Whether that's journaling, whether that's listening to sermons, whether that's going to church, whether that's prayer, but have a higher, regard, have some healthy conviction to why you're doing things because you care to please God, because he is your primary and first and foremost priority in things. And if he's first, then all of the other things seem to trickle down effectively.
Yeah, one thing I want to go back to on the concept of like readiness and not putting off something as simple as like getting gas until tomorrow when you need it is, have you ever had a coworker that didn't do anything that they were supposed to do right before they left? And so you come in to like close after them or you open after they've closed and you're like, this person, insert expletive here, left all this stuff out, didn't clean this up, and you're mad at them. You're mad at them, right? You're like, come on. And they just didn't do what they're supposed to do, right? Well, you got to start thinking about yourself the same way. Does today you think yesterday you was an a-hole? Right. Like, are you like, if I had just done that yesterday, jerk yesterday me is an a-hole? Don't be an a-hole today for tomorrow you. Don't put off today for what you have to do tomorrow, because here's the problem. Not only do you have to still do it tomorrow, but tomorrow you has other things to worry about, and it's today. Yeah. So your buddy or your coworker that left all of that for you tonight thinking, I don't got to do that, and then you've got to take it on tomorrow on top of your opening tasks, on top of everything you got to do, and you're ticked off. You're going to feel the same way tomorrow, but then the only person you have to blame is you. Tell me that doesn't create anxiety. Or depression. Tell me that doesn't create depression and you're down about it, or your heart is like, man, I should have just done that. So that's a huge thing. And all of this I just want to say is we're kind of heading towards the end here is, build discipline, find patterns. There is just relief and peace in having things in place so that when something does go wrong, you're able to handle that fire versus your entire world already being on fire and then something else going ablaze.
And that's what we do. We help people with
correct.
That so often.
Yes.
You think we're just helping you with an exercise plan. You think we're just helping you with a nutrition program. But instead, we're helping you to get all of this organized, disciplined, and detailed.
Yeah, my client today was so funny. She was like, so how many people, she was talking to me about some stuff today. She's like, so how many people do you have to have a conversation with on a daily basis like we just had? Like 12 people? Do you actually have to periodically go through this with 12 people, or do you actually exercise with some of them? And she was exercising. But, it's mind, body, spirit. You have to have all three of those in line.
Yeah, absolutely. For more information on what we do with a 6-month nutrition program or a free personal fitness assessment with any of our trainers at Integrity Training Systems, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to your door from my personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com. Thank you for listening, and God bless.